He was born on a Dublin street where the Lyle drums did beat. The loving English feet that walked all over us. And every single night when me dad would come home tight, he'd invite the neighbours out with this chorus. Come out, shibboleth and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show you white how you won medals down in Flanders. And how the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lanes of Pilshandra. Come, let us hear you tell how you slandered great Parnell when you taught them well and truly persecuted. What are the sneers and jeers that you loudly let us hear when our leaders of 16 were executed? Come out, shibboleth and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show you white how you won medals down in Flanders. How the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lanes of Pilshandra. Come tell us how you slew them all Arabs 2 by 2. Like the Zulus, they had spears, a bow and arrows. Oh, bravely you faced one with your 16-pounder gun, and you frightened them damn natives to the marrow. Come out, shibboleth and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show you white how you won medals down in Flanders. How the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lanes of Pilshandra. The time is coming fast, and I think this day is near, when each Shoning traitor he will run before us. And if there'll be a need, well, our kids will say Godspeed with a verse or two of singing this fine chorus. Come out, shibboleth and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show you white how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lanes of Pilshandra. Come out, shibboleth and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show you white how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like hell away from the green and lovely lanes of Pilshandra.
Yeah, buddy, we're back. I'm back. How's it going, everybody? Western Decline. What's going on, buddy boyo?
Well, I wasn't kidding. I do love the musical intros, and it's funny because all these groups of whites, well, depending who you ask, they're not white. You got the Irish, the Italians, and all these other groups. Like all the so-called non-white whites are the only ones that seem to have any kind of racial pride anymore. You know,
Well, I could kind of attribute that to like the Trump supporter living in the ghetto. You know, like people closest to it kind of have a different sense about it all. You know, they hear about the Nordcuck meme, all them dirty meds down the southern Europe. You know, they're near it, they're closer to it. So I don't know, maybe there's something to do with that.
I'm proud of the IRA for at least being the most recent kind of rebellious group of white people that actually stood up against their government and meant it. Canada cucks in comparison. You're gonna sit there, you're gonna honk your horns till the military kicks you out. Like that's not. I'm sorry, not impressed. Okay, when you're bombing politicians' yachts, I'll be more impressed.
Since we brought it up, what's your take on Brexit? Just since we're talking.
I mean, I'm always kind of.
I mean, you're in Canada. I'm living out in the Midwest. I mean, I hate to interrupt, but like, you know, what it was, you know, it's kind of like way over there, and you know, but what do you think about it? Like that kind of whole thing.
I mean, I like the idea of severing from like the EU. I like the idea of going back to an isolationist, you know, kind of national policy. It did feel kind of copycatish though, with like, you know, the whole Trump thing and then Brexit follows. I'm surprised it even passed. It makes me wonder about the legitimacy of the whole thing. Who was the Prime Minister of the UK at the time? Wasn't it like Boris Johnson or something when Brexit was going on?
I don't. What? I'm sorry. Say that again. I hate. I hate. Wasn't listening.
The prime minister of the UK at the time, wasn't it like Boris Johnson? You know, at the same time we had Trump,
Well, I think
they
it
had
was before him even. Well, it was. I don't know. Who
Jeremy
gives a
Corbyn.
fuck? Yeah, they're all
Okay.
fucking garbage anyway.
Well, it's just the point is I think they had a white guy, and then now post Brexit they have a brown guy. So what good was it really? You know, it a whole lot of bloviating about nothing, I guess. What did they really accomplish?
Yeah, well, now that you bring up Boris, it makes me think. I heard Lamprey the last couple of weeks. We talked about how, like, it's like Trump being this punching bag, and I don't know. It's like Boris is the same thing, like the weird haircut, the dopey, like, kind of fat white guy running things, and it's just like a way to tear down white even more, I suppose.
Yeah, Boris Johnson was like, "We have Trump at home," or like Kirkland brand Donald Trump. Like I don't. It didn't seem very organic. It seemed to me like whoever really pulls the string in the UK was doing their best to cling to relevancy by emulating the kind of cultural leap forward that America seemed to be taking at the time. They didn't want to be seen as like backward and not with the times. So they had their own kind of imitation, I guess.
Well, I suppose we should talk about, I don't know, something. You got any prep? I don't know. I guess I do have some prep. Why don't I share a video we can react to? I sent it to you via DM. I'm going to present the screen here. We'll get this reaction going. I don't know, man. This video's. I mean, oh, we'll check it out. Here we go, guys. Here we go. This will be fun.
I can spend time with them. Bro, when I tell you I'm so sick of going to work, bro, it is work this, work that, wake up, go to work, come home, eat supper, go to bed, go to work in the next morning. I mean, dude, I got 2 kids. I got 2 kids that I get to see for like maybe 2 hours a day, and they have to stay up late just so I can spend time with them, And then I got a wife that I get to see for maybe 3 hours a day, but other than that, it's go to work, spend time at work. I just tried to go to the gym, okay, because I had a rain delay at work, and then my boss texted me after like 15 being in the gym, being, "Oh yeah, come in 30 minutes earlier. We're actually going to start at this time." Like, dude, like that basically just wasted all of my time drinking a 1,600 calorie protein shake. That's going straight to the fucking gut now, dude. Like, I just want to get fit, dude. I want to spend time with my family. I want to have a good job. I want to make a lot of money. Hell, I got a business that I created that I don't even have time to run because I'm so busy trying to pay bills. When I got goals in my life, dude, I got a family that I want to support. I got a family that I want to spend time with. I want to get fit. Fuck you, dude. Fuck all of y'all. The politicians. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck all you liberals. Fuck you Democrats. Man, fuck every fucking one of you. I'm sick of this. How can you live like this, man? How can you even get to where you want to be in life because of all this shit? Man, fuck.
Well, Western Decline, what do you think, buddy boyo?
I mean, looking at like the chat pointed out, we got the we got the Chad light raging in his wage cage, but a less cynical look on it. I think he says a lot of things that we all feel on some level. It's hard for me to empathize with him because he achieved the family, but people on Twitter would call this guy an incel. He doesn't like society. He doesn't like what Zog has done. So, he must be an incel. He's blaming Jews for not being able to get laid. He's blaming Democrats. But I do agree that he did ruin it by making it partisan because these sort of complaints appeal to both sides of the aisle. And Trump getting back in office is not going to correct this. He's not going to get women out of the workforce. He just announced that he wants to, what was it? He wants to staple a green card to every graduating student's papers in the country. Okay, like he's not going to fix this. He might make it slightly better. Maybe the price of gas will go down 10%, but It's not going to improve to any dramatic level. And the thing that I found interesting, probably most interesting about that video, is his fixation on his fitness level. Like, half of the video was basically getting upset that he didn't have time to like work out and stay fit. And I think that says a lot about the predicament that a lot of guys that you've mentioned it before, right? Like, getting the relationship is a fraction of the battle. Keeping it is the real struggle. And he's so concerned about, putting on a beer gut or anything else, because it doesn't matter that he has two kids. It doesn't matter that he has a wife. Like, she can be gone the second he's caught slipping. So,
I don't know. Western Decline. I fucking hate the gym bullshit. This is fucking maddening to me. And I really like that hell by the dashboard light. You know, he always says like lift weights because I actually kind of agree with the whole like keep your T levels high, like be a man, like don't be a fucking homie or a flamboyant, a fat, fag or whatever. Don't be a wussy. Don't be a pussy boy. Don't be a Sally boy. I get it. But this whole obsession with like physicality and like I gotta maintain like my body and all this bullshit. You got two kids, man. Who the fuck cares about anything else? That's kind of what, by the way, that was kind of what my father conveyed before he died. Like he realized like on his deathbed, he died like 15 years ago. My dad was pretty awesome. He was cool as fuck. And he just couldn't believe that he wasted all this energy, time, effort on anything but his sons. And he apologized before he died and said that was a waste of fucking time. I should only care about my children. So this idea you go to the gym as a father, you're a fucking piece of shit. Why are you wasting your time in a gym?
I mean,
Take your kids for a walk, you fucking idiot.
I really agree with that take, but I gotta point out that times change, and in your father's generation, my father's generation, you get the girl, and then you had some breathing room. You could slack off, but y- in a way, going to the gym, I'm not saying that this is necessarily how it works, but I think he views going to the gym and staying in shape as keeping his wife around and keeping the nuclear household going for his two kids, where it didn't really have to be considered to this level for previous generations of men.
I think my problem with the gym is just the artificial kind of aspect of it. It's in like this it's like a hamster wheel. Like you're not living in the real world. It's sort of fake and gay. That's what my problem with the gym. But I will grant Sheldon Scott in the chat. I just want to mention since he's in the chat, he's making a good point. Or he's making me think about a thought, and that is, that exercise gives you energy. So you should exercise. You shouldn't sit idle. So I want to say that much.
Yeah, rolling goyams gather no rust for sure. I was in a much better mood when I was, doing a daily exercise. The endorphins, if nothing else, helped tremendously. And I actually really like Sheldon Scott's kind of a line of thinking here, but I'd actually take it one step further. Instead of like, if you're gonna insist on the exercise, like get your sons into it with you. Like if you're gonna go do this shit, like make it father son bonding time. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe the answer is, you got to stay in shape and you want your sons to not be like soy boys that are going to get bullied at school. Like, get into it young when
Makes
your
me pretty
sons are like
fucking
10 or
sad
12. Go
where
with them.
makes me pretty fucking sad when Americans will bring their dog every motherfucking place under the sun, but they won't bring their children. It's fucking disgusting to see them, all these fucking companion dogs everywhere in public. Where's your fucking kids at? Like, it's crazy, bro.
Oh, and people will tolerate the dog too. It's not just the people bringing them. We have this sick disdain for children in this society. And on some level with men I can understand it, because the same reason you don't want to be around children is the same reason a lot of guys don't want to be around women anymore. It's ripe to have your life destroyed by a false accusation. But it is a shame. I remember when I was in high school, we had it was a horribly embarrassing situation, because we were supposed to do like take your kid to work day. And because my dad worked like an actual job, not some like desk cuck stuff, uh, I couldn't I couldn't go do take your son to work day, because he did signals maintenance on the railroad, and like the railway would not tolerate like me being on the train tracks and stuff with them to do that shit. Whereas you don't even get to see what your father does anymore. If he works a real job, unless he owns the business, like what are you gonna do? You know. So
I see Collective Dismal in the chat, and he's talking about how weak Zoomers are. I don't even give a fuck, dude. Like, I mean, you can make fun of like the youth or whatever, the next generation. They're more soy than the previous generation. I've been getting guff all my life as a millennial, and I'm a little older than these young people in the workplace, and them complaining about cell phone use and break times and maybe not wanting to work so hard. I don't give a fuck. I don't get. I don't. Why should I care? So many people bled and died for this fucking society. You got all these white fucking young people in this. I hate to make it racial, but what the fuck? Why should white kids have to do a goddamn thing? So many fucking white guys are dead and buried in the ground. Men built a fucking civilization. Why is anybody going to work? There is no work. Nobody does anything in this country.
I mean, I agree. I'm half inclined to agree with Dismal, though. The stipulation I'd make is that what's often overlooked, particularly, I forget which it is, R and K selection though, but one of the reproductive strategies develops a lot slower, and this is most apparent with like white guys and Asian guys. You do get like a second puberty at some point in your 20s, and I got you basically you get your old man strength DLC. So I sympathize with the Zoomers because a lot of them they may have large frames or whatever, but they're not necessarily men yet. So I wouldn't be too harsh on them. I can understand it being annoying though, because we as men we always want to see things as like a pyramid that we can climb, a hierarchy that we can progress in, and it's annoying to be, I wouldn't say bested, but displaced by people that you're pretty much superior from in all directions. And the only reason that you're not able to leverage that is this faking gay construct that we all live in.
Yeah. Where should we go today? I don't know.
I got a couple things lined up. Some of them I linked to you on Discord. The one that I really want to get out of the way immediately is this post that I've been trying to link it to Dashboard, but since I left the Mamoon Discord server, I can't get in contact with them. But what it is it's a post from r/teachers on Reddit, and I'll just read it out really quick here. It says, "Why are American students so ugly and fat? I'm a 38-year-old German teacher who migrated from Germany to the US to teach German to high schoolers, and it's insane how unattractive American teenagers are compared to German teenagers. Easily one-third are obese, one-third are fat, one-third are acceptable weight but usually have butter face from a lifetime of crap food. The 2 or 3 hot ones, average by German standards, still hit the wall in their senior year, or if they have a baby, they come back with tubs of lard like everyone else and look like they turned 30 overnight. It's absolutely no wonder why so many people don't want to be teachers in America. Even the teen boys would rather jerk off to porn than date girls. Seriously, there's usually 1 or 2 boys dating per class. It's sad. How did things get this bad?" I think that
I want
was
to
a
hear
male
your
teacher.
thoughts first. I guess I could respond, but go ahead.
I mean, it just makes me laugh because people will jump down Dashboard's throat for insinuating that Germany might be a little bit better than here. But the self the self-purported German seems to agree, and a lot of these are, it's like what Dismal was saying, the criticism of the young people, and I think that it's true, but I don't know how much blame can be laid at their feet. Like I had a tendency to stay in the house and play video games all day in my own youth, but a lot of these people, they had 4 years of it forced upon them, and habits like that are hard to break. So,
Well, you mentioned America versus Europe. I just think Dashboard's correct, and I've never been to Europe, but I'm in the like thick of it. Like it's like you're in the tip of the spear. Like if you live in America, you're in like peak degenerate fucking clown world. So I just imagine there's some nice villages. I mean, even dashboards talked about this. Even in America, there's like what do they call it? Like pockets of like a Shangri-La, like a village or a nice town. Or I've been to them. Hell, I was in one in west of Detroit recently, last year, a little village about 30 minutes west of Detroit. It was like a Shangri-La paradise, lily white America, not overpopulated, little to no crime, just wonderful experience. But I imagine that's happening all over Europe, where people are just sort of away from the noise, away from the bullshit, and it's probably pretty nice because of the demographics. I always talk about that. That's why my rub with all this fucking ideology bullshit. People being left, right wing, fucking Christian conservative, trad thought, whatever the fuck we're calling all this bullshit. Are the demographics? Are there children? Are there teenagers working in fast food store restaurants? Are there teenagers working in grocery stores? You can really kind of tell where like a thriving community, just it's sort of evident. You don't really need to like look too hard. If you're in one, you can see it.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. At least as of a couple years ago, they do exist. I did a delivery job that was all over my province, and I didn't get much of a chance to you know slow down and take it all in because it was just go 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 the whole time. But a couple years ago, I traveled to a nearby city to like buy a rear axle for my project truck, and I pulled off at the gas station when I was there, and I had to do like a double take. It felt like being in an alien world. On the way in there, I seen stuff that I had never seen before. I seen a series of 3 billboards on the highway on the way to this city, and they were like in a row over the span of like a mile. And it was the first one was something like abortion is murder. Okay, which was crazy. That you never see in Canada on packs of cigarettes here, they have to warn you, like so they show pictures of like lung and throat cancer damage on the cigarette box. It was like that. Like it showed like the baby getting egg beatered on the billboard. The next billboard was something like the vaccine kills, like just point blank. And then the third one was like it was like an advertisement for like the local church or whatever, and it depicted a group of like all white people. And I thought it was strange when I was driving in there, but when I stopped to get gas after picking up my axle and gonna head home, that's when I really realized how rare it was. It's something that I hadn't encountered since I was maybe like 10 years old and living in Alberta. uh, I got out of the truck at the gas station, and everybody was like what you just described. Like it was hustling and bustling, but it wasn't like a fucking a carpet market in New Delhi or anything. Like it was actually all young people, and it was like young white people, and it was I envied boomers so much basically from that moment afterwards, knowing that they got to live their whole lives like this and threw it away. No, even though I wasn't interacting with any of them, just it felt so much healthier being surrounded by your own people. And if you're unsuccessful with women, you're an incel or you're whatever, it's a lot easier to stomach when you see, that at least your race, whether you care about it or not, isn't in danger of being gone. I think that you want to focus on these issues a lot more when you see your people disappearing.
The world's changed so fucking fast. I've worked with boomers who never saw a black person till they were like 21 years old. And then, you know, you can compare that to someone like myself, and then like add on to that. I'm a millennial. Then you go down to the further youngster who's like 16 right now. Can you imagine being half your age right now, Western Decline? As much kind of like insanity you've had to like kind of witness throughout your kind of timeline and your life. Like that's kind of where like this whole advice or having like wisdom just doesn't follow. Do you get what I'm saying, bud?
Yeah, and that's part of my criticism of people that have kids too late. The same way boomers culturally are so out of touch, they can't offer advice to young people. I think that's the situation a lot of people have when they have children too late. I think you're supposed to have a child when you're like your early 20s, maybe. Something like that, because by the time your child is, hitting their own kind of stride, they're a little bit more self-sufficient. They don't need all the child rearing necessities. You'll be maybe 40 and your body's not going to be in peak condition, but you're still like lively. Okay. You have 10, maybe 20 years of good times you can be having with your adult kids. And the advice that you can offer them is not so far removed from when you had to use it last.
Oh fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. Now I think I remembered. People talk about this argument with I've talked with my brother about this, and he's kind of like he's more of like a right wing type guy, not very racial. He's kind of more about like, you know, good economy, good policies will, you know, perpetuate a good America or whatever. And here's my like, and you got the dashboard types who say Germany's got to be better than America. And this whole idea that like, oh, but America has free speech and America has the Second Amendment, but Europe has better people. Like, isn't that more important? Like, people not being maybe I don't want to say I don't want to say like introduced or exposed to this kind of world, but that maybe that's a good thing. And I guess what I'm trying to say is Western decline is I believe Europe's in much better standing because of the makeup of the people, not because America. Like people want to make that argument, like, oh, America's so much better because like they have like better laws on the books or whatever. And it's like I'm not so sure that matters. Like it's kind of fake and gay, right? Like rule of law and like charters and shit. Like people can get away with stuff. That's kind of like the real world.
I mean, the only thing that matters is what's actually enforced. You can have any law on the books that you want, but if nobody's going to enforce it, then what good is it? Technically, being an illegal immigrant is against the law. Who's removing them? Instead, they're being rewarded. So there's the laws it's written, and then there's the laws it's practiced. And I think that it doesn't really matter what the law is in America right now because the culture, the law, craft, and everything, it's all downstream from demographics. And the laws that America has were basically for like 120 IQ whites to enjoy. Okay, like once you start introducing all these people that don't value them, it's only a matter of time until it's either completely removed or it's no longer, enforced as the standard. And you see the erosion of free speech. You can't people love to tout out the you have freedom of speech
That's
but
the
not
problem, though.
freedom from
Western decline.
consequences.
Western decline. I imagine like some local in the UP, the Upper Peninsula or whatever in the Midwest, or some local in like some small town bar in like Ireland is willing to like speak freely more than any like quote individual just wandering around in America. Like the idea that like freedom of speech is even, I mean, I hate to dog on it. Like I hope, we want to support people being able to express themselves, I suppose, but this whole bullshit about like, well, in America we get to say whatever we want. Like that's not true anywhere. Sorry, Bucko.
Yeah, and I think in America it's doubly bad.
Oh, Western decline. Real quick, I just want to remind you or let you know. I have to walk away for 30 seconds, so just go ahead and run with that.
I was just going to say that I think it is a very large mistake has been made on the part of the people for accepting this idea of having competing political parties, uh in theory, it seems like a great idea. One side will hold the other in check, and nobody will ever have absolute power because they can be replaced. And instead, what we get is two groups that are controlled by the same group of people in the background that play hot potato with issues while things continue to slide and get worse and worse. And every group blames the previous group for why things are bad and why they're getting worse and why they were unable to control anything. So I think that that's a giant mistake, and I think having these competing groups within a society is the beginning of the end. I don't know how you're ever supposed to pull out of this tailspin. You would need one group to consume all of them and just like sweep them away in order to correct anything. And democracy is like, if you look at Germany, that's one criticism that I will have of it, is they have that alternative for Deutschland party. And it's democracy until somebody we don't like allegedly is winning the vote. And that's what seems to be happening with the AFD in Germany. Like, they're trying to get them pushed off of ballots and everything, even though they're not violating any laws. They're trying to use the media in Germany to get outside pressure to stifle the rise of what could be considered a right-wing party because of the alleged implications of it happening again. They're getting hit with the never again nonsense. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with any of this. It's hard for me to put any faith in politics at all, because when was the last time politics actually improved anything for anybody here?
Do you mean to tell me that you didn't want to watch the debate going on right now?
I didn't even know there was a debate going on right now. Do they have Trump from the inside of his prison cell appearing? Did he even show up to this one? I don't recall him attending.
By the way, it's going on like right now, or it might be over. But Trump looks old, man. He's got the chicken neck. His hair looks like shit. Fuck, man. Trump looks like a fucking mess. And I didn't think Trump could do anything or fix anything anyway, but he looks like a mess.
Yeah, I mean, they've seen the clips of him basically having kind of mental slips like Biden was having. The whole Saul Alinsky rules for radicals nonsense. They're accusing Trump of being everything that Biden was to distract from what Biden is. So part of me feels for Trump, because I'm a big fan of MMA, and oftentimes there's a couple rules in MMA. One, there's exceptions to these rules, but one rule is basically it's a young man's sport. After a certain point, you're too old. You're not fast enough. You've taken too much damage. You can't compete. And the other rule is guys have a granite chin until it's been cracked. So the first time a guy gets knocked out, expect to see him all of a sudden get knocked out way easier than he ever did in the past. He will never be as tough as he was as before. And that's, in a sense, kind of what I feel like happened with Trump. I feel like 2016 to 2020, he would have done fine. It would have been a decent enough presidency, better than what we have now, I guess. But
I
they
fucking laugh at any American who has like a Trump hat on or like a Biden sticker on their car. Like, you're both supporting like geriatric like retards. Like, they're all just old. They're fucking old fucks, man. Donald Trump and Joe Biden are old, and they're fucking rich and they're just away from the idea that like they can like do anything to help. It's insanity to think like that.
And even if they could, would they? Probably not.
Yeah, that's a good point too. They can't do anything. Even if they could, they wouldn't.
I just sympathize with Trump, because it's sad to see someone deteriorate like that. If you ever lost a grandparent that you care about or whatever, I with Trump, I feel like they just waited him out, if for no other reason than to save face. I remember watching the "Can't Stump the Trump" compilations when he was running for president the first time, and I think the only thing he did well was the verbally dunk on his opposition, and I think that they didn't want to deal with that anymore. It made them look too incompetent, so they just wait him out a couple years. So yeah, we'll let him run again, but now he's halfway to being a potato. Does he even know he's debating right now?
I'm convinced he's for sure. Well, the idea that he could even win's retarded. I mean, well, if you believe in the last election is, I mean, elections are fake and gay. I mean, what did Tom Metzger say? If voted change things, they'd make it illegal.
Yeah.
I mean, but the idea that, I mean, it's just, it's the people like hanging on to this shit. Really? Really?
Yeah. And the first debate, I remember trying to watch some of it, and the whole thing just boiled down to Vivek Ramaswamy trying to capture that same
Imagine
lightning
America. That would
Trump
be
had.
Western. That would be peak America. Like a fucking Indian, like fucking like huckster as like the president.
Well,
I almost want to vote for the guy.
It would be in line with the rest of the crown countries. You know, the UK has the brown prime minister. We have Singh here in Canada, who's basically the number 2 to Trudeau in the Liberals.
Well, by the way, I guess I could ask you, do you think like a Vivek being president is good for blacks or worse for blacks?
I think it's worse for blacks because there's no inherent guilt. Like, look at how the Chinese treat Africans now that they're the ones colonizing the country, and like native Africans are begging for whitey back because of how the Chinese treats them. I think that that's how blacks would react to having a Vivek Ramaswamy, because all the funding that's going to black schools, you know, to try and prop them up and all these other things, that would go straight to like more H-1B visas and streamlining the process. So I think it would not
By
be
the
good.
way, I'm convinced the Republican Party's finished. Like I don't see Trump. Like Trump can't win. He couldn't win last time. He's not winning this time, and that's on purpose. Like if Trump's the acceleration candidate, Trump kicks this off into insanity even more, and they're not going to let. They're going to try to quell this all with like a Biden or a Gavin Newsom. We should move on. Why are we talking about the debate? Fuck this bullshit.
Well, I didn't even know what was happening. You know, that goes to show, you know, normally I'm pretty good with this sort of stuff, but it's almost like they didn't advertise it, you know, like
Yeah.
I haven't been getting YouTube ads leading up to the presidential debate, you know, tune in and all this other stuff. So,
you know, I was reading something on Twitter, Western Decline. I was kind of curious about your thoughts are, you know, this idea that maybe women are actually not only not equal to men, but maybe more valuable and more important than H2O, water.
women more important than water. Well, I'd have to disagree. I guess I'm two minds about it, because on the one hand, I disagree, because I think that man will one day be able to reproduce without women. I think that, like they grew that sheep dolly in the bag, women's reproductive necessity will eventually one day be replaced by machine. Um, but on the other hand, you know, how long is it going to take to get there? You know, you might
You know,
need
you
women to
say
bridge
that
the
Western
gap.
Decline. You say that Western Decline. It makes me think like, what would be what would that be worse for women or worse for men? The outcome of that.
Well, for me, I think part of this is that I would have a much easier time ignoring my sexless state if I wasn't having to see it everywhere. You know, when I quit smoking weed every day, I took my bong and all my paraphernalia off of my desk and I just put it in a box in the corner of my basement. And after a couple days, I wasn't thinking about it, but I could not quit when it's sitting at my desk having to look at it the whole time. So, how much of women's power is real and how much of it is illusory? How much of it, if we removed women from public sight, okay, like we didn't have porn everywhere, we didn't have half nude women running around, how much would we really feel not having one? I bet you it's dramatically reduced.
Yeah. I think the issue is equality being like just constantly touted on, you know, in media, and that is the narrative, but that's literally the whole idea, like how valuable is a womb, how valuable is, you know.
Well, what is the Undead Chronic's always going on about the surrogacy stuff. What's the going rate for surrogacy? You know, they have put a number on, you know, how valuable a womb is, and it's nothing crazy. I think if you want a third world surrogate, it's somewhere between like 15 and 50 grand, something like that. Like, it's cheaper than a new car. You know, a new F-150 would cost you at least a couple wombs. So,
Yeah, well, you said the one F-150, but you know, it's sort of like, well, you know, there's other kind of hidden hidden fees with both of those things, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, if you're the consumer now, you get to do all the research and development that used to be done at a testing facility. Now you get to do it for the first couple years of every new model.
um, I wanted to maybe ask you about the kind of this whole societal kind of issue with men and women. You know, uh, chicken or egg, the chicken or egg, who comes first? You know, men and women playing chicken with each other. That that men are upset about women and women are upset about men. But see, men aren't servicing or serving society, so why should women serve men? Do you want to maybe break that down and maybe explain that?
Oh, I think women have deluded themselves. They've drank their own Kool-Aid into thinking that they actually don't need any man. You know, a lot of women actually run around thinking that, and I don't know if it's they push the idea out of their head of all the things that make their life possible that have to be done by a man, or if they know about it and lie about it. Um, I think that obviously I'm biased, you know, because I'm not a woman, but I think that women are the side that has to give, because on some level it can be done without them. Okay, like man's best friend I think is not necessarily dog. I think that it's probably science. You know, science has given us the, and not in a cringe way, okay? I don't want to go, you know, fly around like George Jetson or something, but like everything you do on a daily basis is an invention of man, and everything that has improved your life, made it easier so you don't have to toil. So when it's 100 degrees outside, you don't have to go boil your skin off. Like everything that made life better and slightly worth living came from a man. So I think women are playing chicken, yes, but I think they're doing it to their detriment. And the women that have to live through an eventual collapse will curse the behavior of the women that didn't know how good they had it when things were still functioning.
You know, I'm curious, Westerner Klein. I hate to get too personal. I know you maybe have mentioned your mother in the past, and I want to
Oh,
just
have
maybe,
I?
I don't know, well, talk about your family a little bit or whatever, and how your family treats you and how they view you. But I wanted to ask you maybe about, like, what do you think kind of these frumpy older women, maybe your mother or people like your mother, think of the young girls and their behavior of the current year?
um, well, on the one hand, they view it as, you know, I wish I could have been doing that. I think a lot of them live vicariously through their daughters. I know my mother definitely does. They view the fact that these girls can sell their jarred farts, sell used articles of clothing, and all this other stuff. They can stream a video game, make money hand over fist doing borderline nothing. And the women are very envious that they had to be shackled to an average or below average man to have a fraction of the quality of life that young ladies are afforded nowadays. But I will point out that female intersexual hierarchy is very different. At least in my household, I noticed women women have like a pecking order. They don't have, it's not like men where some old geriatric guy can have accumulated enough wealth and power that he's at the top of the male heap. Women, it's very different. Like the second a woman's old or ugly, like she's pushed to the bottom. So the most powerful person in a woman's society is the most attractive girl, who's usually far younger than the oldest. So that's the only time I see conflict between my mother and my sister. And in the family dynamic here, the only person that can ever put my mother in check is my sister. Okay, because it's that reproductive instinct that women abuse and use with men to safeguard themselves against all their wrongdoings. It gets, the woman on some level knows that that impetus is stronger towards the more attractive woman, so she has to bend the knee to her superior in that regard.
Good stuff, bud. Have I ever? I'm sorry. Have I ever asked you about Disney Edifice?
No, and I wouldn't know what you're talking about. So you have to elaborate.
Uh, Men should fight lions, tigers, and dragons to get a woman. This whole Disney aura projected. You talked about your, this one love or stuck on a woman or finding the one and women's expectations of a man. Disney Edifice has sort of been presented in my era, my generation specifically, but even the younger generation, that men need to, save a woman.
I mean, I think that men need to save women from themselves. I would agree with that, but I don't think that that can be done on a case by case basis anymore. If you try and save a woman from herself, she's going to throw you under the bus so she can keep being a retard. So, unfortunately, I don't see a way out. I view women's current like the situation we're in is like a societal chokehold where, all we can do is tap. Like it's sunk, it's under the chin, as Joe Rogan would say. It's tight, it's tight. Okay, like we're done for. And this just has to run its course and hope that we don't let women get us in this chokehold next round. Um, I view Pandora's box as very literal. Okay, Pandora's a female name. Box is a euphemism for pussy. Like that's what we're. The Pandora's box has been opened. It cannot be closed so long as like society still functions. That's my honest opinion. I think that the only thing that will force women back to the negotiating table is a dramatic drop in quality of life. I don't think there's anything else that can do it. I don't think any amount of arguing with them, any amount of bartering, any amount of making societal adjustments will correct it. I think we're done. I think that the bridge has been burnt between the sexes, and if you guys ever watched like Survivor, you've ever seen those like classic clips of a men versus women Survivor. Uh, the men don't reach out to the women, okay? They don't go over to the woman's camp and go, "Hey, it looks like you've been shivering in the cold for a week and you have no food and you haven't managed to boil your water because you haven't gotten a fire going. Do you want to actually like do you want to come hang out with us?" You need the women to come to you, and that's what happens in every one of those shows. Eventually one of the women decides to, "Fuck this, I'm not living in this squalor anymore," and she'll go waddle over to the men's camp, and the men will kind of laugh at her, but they'll want to offer help, but the woman has to want the help. Okay, and we're nowhere near that. Women don't want help. From the perspective of most women, everything's going just fine. They want more as it is.
Have you
And
ever? Have you? Oh, go ahead. Finish up.
your point earlier about women hating men, I think a lot of their hatred is performative. I think that really the only women that have any grounds to hate men nowadays are the ones that are sharing a guy that they can't get to commit to them exclusively. The rest of them really have like nothing to complain about. Like everything has been provided for in their life. They could have a guy if they want to. All
I
they can
want
cry
to.
about is not
I want
lazy.
you're talking, and no, I think this might tie a little into this. I want to share a millennial black pill tweet.
Sure.
By the way, shout out to Millennial Black Pill, one of the coolest black guys on Twitter. I mean, he really is his Twitter is fire. I mean, he's a fucking great Twitter guy. I mean, he's really good at Twitter. We're going to share one of his tweets and have Western Decline react. Why don't you go ahead and read the post that, Millennial Black Pill is talking about?
Dudes who think it's insulting to be friend zoned obviously don't know how it feels to be fuck zoned. It's the possibility of us fucking really my only worth to you. Learn how to be friends with people. It says women have absolutely no clue how bad of a friend they make. And this is what I was getting at. Like, I don't agree with her grievance, but this is the only, like, putting yourself in a woman's shoes, this is the only thing to get mad about as a woman. And, like, they're okay with being in the fuck and friend zone, Okay, like they're fine with that as long as they think that they're getting a relationship with a guy. But once they've been relegated to, just like casual hookups with the guy they actually want, that's when they get fucking mad and hop on the internet like this. Start screaming into the void.
Western Decline. Have you ever done the political compass? Have you ever taken the test?
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Where did you fall? I'm curious.
It would
Is it
depend.
red, blue, green, or purple?
I mean, it's red, but I find with the red stuff, it's a lot of it I'm agreeing with for the wrong reasons, you know.
I'm going to share a political compass, and I want to have you maybe react to it, and I'll respond as well. Uh, I I'm kind of curious what you think about this.
Yeah, I mean,
You talked about where you fall on the political compass. I guess I'll point out where I fall. So if you guys can see my cursor, uh, my mouse, you see where my mouse is, guys?
yeah.
All right, this is where I land. This is my political compass. This is me. So I guess I'm a black pillar because I believe in this box, and this box says we're all in deep trouble.
I think relationship wise we're in deep trouble, but on an individual scale, I think we're all, unless we get forcibly drafted, I think we're actually doing pretty fine. Like unless you're getting forcibly conscripted, you're actually in a far more ideal situation. Like if things get actually hard, you're in the position you'd want to be. Being a single young man, you are most poised to be able to support yourself. Okay, like if things get hard, you're the one that doesn't have the baggage. So it might seem like these other people are winning for now, and it could be the rest of our lives that they continue winning. But eventually, the meta will change, and being a single man will become advantageous. We might already be there a little bit, right? With that clip of the guy venting in his truck at the beginning of the stream. Um,
Well, here's
I
my
I
problem.
find I'm having a better time than that guy is, and I'm pretty miserable.
That's my that's my kind of problem. We watched this video, a Western Decline, of that man complaining in his pickup truck about his wife and his kids and working out, and he's got a business, and I get laid, and blah 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 blah. He's one of those guys like incels are like, oh, they're rolling their eyes like I've never even had a woman look at me, and you're complaining, like. That's my problem with this whole thing with the black pill, the TFL, the incel space is like normies just want to scoff or roll their eyes or make little quips or snipes at people that maybe are expressing these ideas, and it's like, look at that dude. He's like above average, American middle of the road guy, right? And like he's like, this is all fucking bullshit. And then you got like people like Undead Chronic who just put on this persona like I get pussy, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Anybody fucking ripping on the black pillars or making fun of incels, you're a piece of shit, man. Fuck you, dude.
Well, and they're not far from being one themselves. It's not ever the guys at the very top criticizing. It's always the ones one rung above, if that. And I think that when this whole community kind of coalesced, back when that word cuck was very popular, I was overused to the point that it's worthless now, but there was a very important thing to glean from that, and that's that cucks are actually like the bottom of the social hierarchy. Okay, like you're better off being an incel than a cuckold, at least unless you appreciate the platonic company of women. Okay, which
Well,
you're
if you're a
basically
cuck,
gay at that
let me
point.
mention something. If you're a cuck, you're going to be a cuck forever. If you're an incel, you're only an incel till you're not.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. One is a
So
scapegoat,
I'm
the other is
sorry,
not.
like the incels are greater than the fucking hookup, like millennial. I'm greater than even maybe myself. Like a Nick Fuentes has higher. I put him in higher, like a higher in the pecking order by not engaging with like, and I hate to say vampiric woman, but like whores and sluts and fucking just like divorcees and fucking single moms and the list is endless. But you know, you get my point.
Yeah, e-girls, not even once, like he says. And one thing more that I do agree with from that guy's video that he didn't really touch on is that I worked at Amazon briefly, and even for a shit job
You
like
worked
doing,
at Amazon?
yeah, yeah,
Bro, Western Klein. I got a buddy of mine. He went to college. He's got like multiple degrees. He was a probation officer. He worked in finance, and he's fucking doing Amazon delivery right now. It's like I'm so glad I didn't fucking bother with like 6 years of college or 8 years of college. Like some
oh
of my
yeah.
buddies. Like literally, what did you get out of it? You're fucking delivering for Amazon. The dude's
It
like
was
fucking
easily.
he's an educated 40-year-old like Italian American dude, and he can't find work. He's got a master's degree. Like, and then like it's just so fucking fucked up because like so many people, I'm successful, I'm a fucking awesome dude. Like I'm just so done with it because like I know people in real life that have literally accomplished things in their lives and they're losers. I mean, according to like these fucking idiots on the internet. My
It was
point,
it
my,
was
my
easily the worst job I've ever had.
well, my point is like it don't matter who you are out there, like we're getting fucked in the ass pretty goddamn hard. I mean, I'm sorry, like
Yeah. The job was horrible. A lot of people have been forced to work that job, and you know, the thing that he pointed out that really resonated with me was the thing that was most one of the big annoyances with that job is that I was making horrible money. Okay, I was working for a company that was like a contracted by Amazon to do deliveries in my area, and the packages would all arrive on like pallets at a warehouse somewhere around like 8 in the morning. And then you would have to sort the pallets of the packages into the 15 or whatever different delivery routes in town. And you'd have to scan them into the system the whole time that you're doing that. Then you have to load them into the truck in an order that the one that you need in the delivery route is on top to be grabbed. So you'd have to sort them in from last delivery to first delivery and load them into the truck accordingly. And the whole first 3 or 4 hours that this process would take was completely unpaid. And you would have to then, you'd get like, your route would have anywhere between 100 and 200 packages, and you'd get paid $1 per package. Okay. So like your first 4 hours unpaid, and then you're making $1 a package. And I didn't last a month at this job. And on top of all this nonsense, they'd want my employer wanted us to be in like the group Snapchat with our coworkers. So or like not Snapchat, it was WhatsApp. And they would fucking these goyim, these I don't know what else to call them, would sit in there and they'd like lick each other's wounds and talk to one another in this WhatsApp chat all day long. I'd get off work, it would be like 6 7 p.m., 8 9 if I was unlucky with the route, and these people would be talking to each other in the WhatsApp all night long. Okay, like it was one of those cultish work families, and I couldn't believe it. And in that guy's video, he's talking about his boss contacting him when he's outside of work, and I honestly think that that needs to carry like if an employer contacts you outside of work and you're not like getting paid as if you're on call, I think it needs to be like $100 added to your paycheck or something like that, just to discourage them from doing it. I really do. That's one law that could be passed. I think that you're trying to solve the racial issues, all this other stuff is impossible. I think that you could legislate different things in the workplace. You know, fuck this fuck making the minimum wage 25 an hour or whatever. Just make it so anytime your manager has to contact you outside of work, you get an extra 100 on your paycheck. Do little changes like that where the person's going to be making more or they're going to be having an easier, less stressful job.
Don't work for Amazon, guys.
No, really don't. It was horrible. You're going to want to quit the first time you get sent to deliver at an apartment building and you're trying to carry 10 packages up into the apartment and nobody's buzzing you in. You're making no money while you're sitting out there sweating with an armload of packages.
Some homie's gonna steal them in 5 minutes too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, it's fucked up, man.
The only thing it's done is given me a greater appreciation for the people that actually do those deliveries. I'm always extra polite to them because I know how fucking horrible that job is, having worked it myself. The only thing I would say is if you can somehow do a couple months there maybe and use your good standing there to maybe get a position at UPS or something like this.
You know, Western Decline. I hate to interrupt, but I was
No.
talking to a cart guy at a golf course, and he was 16 years old, and he was really frustrated because he wants like more upward mobility. You know, he's looking for a raise. You know, he's a young kid and he wants more out of life. He's making about $12 an hour, and he puts the carts away, or he gets them all prepared for the new golf group or whatever the fuck. He does the fucking menial task kind of garbage, take out the garbage type work, right? And he's trying to figure out how to get a raise. And I don't know. My advice, Western Decline, was like, just kind of keep your mouth shut and your head down and just do your job. And then maybe, have a formal sit down with your boss about the future of your, the future of your employment there. Like don't be making snipes around other people or in front of other people at your boss or trying to haggle them for more money. Like, what are your thoughts about that? Kind of like the young guy who's maybe just feeling frustrated working for $12 an hour.
I would say that if you get hired on anywhere nowadays, expect to continue making the wage you were hired on at. I
Well, I
don't.
told him Western Decline. I told him like, I mean, I just kind of, I don't know. I was just kind of trying to get convey to him that, you have to do it the right way. It's not about being like a good employee. And in the real world, it's about fitting in and, being a lick ass or a kiss ass or a one of those kind of like, what do they call them, slackers.
A
It's not
brown
about
nose.
it's not about being a slacker. It's not about being a brown noser. It's just about fitting in, and that's kind of what I kind of conveyed to him. Is that bad advice?
Uh, I don't think it's necessarily bad advice. I just don't think that that might get him a couple more shekels over the next wagey that doesn't do that, but I shared a lot of this similar frustration. I quit one of my former places of employment with a kind of a dispute with my employer, and I asked him point blank, when would I ever be able to afford a family here? And to his credit, he answered, never. And I told him, well, exactly. So I got to get a real job. And he didn't necessarily take it well, but how else can you put it to someone? And a lot of my coworkers were people my own age, and I felt like I was getting punished for not being more irresponsible. My coworkers were all my age, but they were like single mothers, a single father, had kids out of wedlock, and it's already a shitty job that pays like shit. And I'm getting paid worse than these people because my boomer boss feels worse for them than he feels for me. And if something's got to give, it's got to be the single guy. So just like student loans, you're getting punished for being the person that thought ahead. So that's why I'd lie. If I was applying to jobs, I've got triplets on the way. I can't work here. My wife's pregnant with triplets. I'm gonna need more shekels than that.
Western Decline. Do you think women value intelligence at all?
Uh, I think that women value two types of intelligence. I think they value kind of the dark triad intelligence where you're manipulative, you're Machiavellian, you're psychopathic, you're able to beat her at her own game in that regard. And I think that they value but don't respect intelligence insofar as it can generate them wealth. I think that they pretend they pay lip service to intelligence that is profitable. But actual intelligence, I think, is a turn off for women because first of all, if you don't have the money, there's no social hierarchy that's telling her that this guy is intelligent. They're not attracted. The sapiosexual for a woman is, they like a Chad with glasses. That's the nerd they're attracted to. Um, I think it's more of a turnoff than it is. It's more of a bane than it is a boon.
Um, dick size greater than intelligence?
I think so. Yeah. Nowadays, absolutely. At least for young girls. I think that this is why, and I have to credit Eminent Volk with this observation because he's the guy that really pointed out, Omegle, if you guys remember that, was a site that got shut down. And allegedly it got shut down because guys were like masturbating and, there's underage girls on there or whatever. But people would compile these clips of women's reaction to big dicks, and like the women would be like aghast, okay, like their jaw would be on the floor, okay, like the women would be looking like fucking Johnny Bravo when like a hot girl went by on the show, okay, and women were acting like this. And if you compile enough of these clips, like it's hard to deny that such an immutable trait is valued by women. And I would actually say that if a woman is not interested in you for your dick, then it's a red flag because she's interested in you for something else, like something non-sexual, and that's almost always a degrading kind of a oofy doofy beta bucks schlubby hubby, the emotional tampon position.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the term robbing them from the cradle?
Yeah, that's what women will accuse you of doing if you're trying to date a woman with a functioning reproductive system nowadays.
Yeah, I remember dating a girl. I think she was like 23. I was probably 36. Is that robbing from the cradle?
I don't believe so, no. Yeah, that woman's already been sexually active for a decade. Uh Women would characterize it differently, and men her age nowadays would probably criticize it differently. When I was 23, when I was 18, and girls dated older guys, I didn't take it personal. I didn't get all in my feelings and throw a tantrum about it. I just, I think, okay, well, I guess I gotta bootstrap my way up. I gotta, make something of myself. Then my time will come. And my time did come, and society pulled the ladder up on me. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. It's all of a sudden some kind of a social taboo, a faux pas, even though it's been very normal for the longest time in history. So,
Uh, what do you believe is robbing from the cradle? Like, what would that, if it's legitimately doing so, where's that line? You
I
talked
think,
about you talked about your own personal situation, 24/16.
yeah,
Is that I want you to speak to this, Weston Decline.
I don't, in my,
What is inappropriate? What is where's the line? Because that's the moral fag. That's where the moral fagging comes from.
where I would draw the line is when it's purely a transactional relationship. So, if you could walk down the sidewalk with this girl and people would look at you and go, okay, I can see why he's attracted to her, and I can see why she's attracted to him. I don't believe that that's cradle robbing because you're getting it off of your own youth. Okay, like you're attractive looking, you have your own youth, it's a fair game in my opinion. What I would view as cradle robbing is like, I'm don't not football. I'm not a football fan, but who's the guy? He's like the owner of one of the teams and he's dating like that 20 something year old. Okay, I view guys that act like that far more as the cradle robbers, the ones that have amassed all of this insane amount of wealth. And, you know, maybe I wouldn't even mind so much if they were getting one girl, but it almost never stops like that. Johnny Depp, a lot of guys in this community will look at him and idolize him in the sense that, he never dates a girl over 25 and he's in his 50s. But he's doing a lot of damage to the dating community. It doesn't take very many guys like Johnny Depp running around to put a lot of damage on women that then you, me, and other people are gonna have to deal with later.
Yeah, Western Decline. I guess I could talk about some of my experiences with underage girls, and I don't want to sound like a kook or a weirdo or a freak or a predator or any of that. I just want to mention when I was almost turning 19, I was in a difficult situation with the family. I was living somewhere away from my mother and father, and the girl across the street was in love with me, and I was going to turn 19 in a month, and she was going to turn 16 in like, I don't know, 4 months, and she was in love with me. But I'm only 18, and like I drive a $400 Honda Civic, and I don't even have a place to live. So I'm like, why did I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm like a retard, right? I'm like a teenage boy or whatever. So I didn't pursue that. But partially because of the way it looked or unethical that it would be. What do you think about that, Western Decline? Because she was a pretty girl and she was infatuated and liked me and wanted me, and I didn't pursue that because I felt it was like illegal or wrong, even though I think 16's legal in my state.
Well, I think that the fact that you're still reminiscing over it all these years later lets me know that it's probably kind of the one that got away for you. And I sympathize with this position a lot because I'm not an advocate for old men getting on dating apps and setting their like age range to legality and a couple years above it. I am, however, an advocate for being able to reciprocate mutual interest without shame. Okay, if women or a young lady gives you the opportunity to do so, I can't blame a red-blooded male for acting on what we all wanted when we were that age. So, this leads into an interesting. People may or may not have heard about the Doctor Disrespect situation. He's being accused and canceled of being a groomer because he had back and forth messaging or something with like a 17-year-old fan of his. And that guy, to me, he's getting up there in age, but at the same time, he has a full head of hair. He's tall. He's popular with young people. Of course, he's already married.
He's an NBA like 2K character on a video game. The guy's famous as fuck.
Yeah. So to me, the issue is not the age
Oh,
gap.
by the
Okay.
way, my roommate's a big fan of Doctor Disrespect. He loves that guy, and he's very sad about the situation.
Oh,
And he hasn't.
I wasn't a fan of him. I am now because I can personally relate to his predicament. Us alleged groomers have to stick together, I guess, because other people want to tie us to the train tracks. Um, I feel for him because I think a lot of these guys end up in this situation where they didn't get the girl when they were that age, or they struggled, or they didn't capitalize on the opportunity. They finally made something of themselves. They have enough confidence to feel like they're, finally able to do that. They get the girl is interested, and then everybody else comes along. And even if they're following the ages of consent, okay, this is what I mean earlier with we have the laws that's written and the laws that's enforced. It doesn't matter what the age of consent is because the court of public opinion that's been prosecuting Derek Chauvin and all these other people for the last several decades, uh, they're going to decide that their consent is actually required now. They're going to stick their nose in it. They're going to start complaining. You're not allowed. You can love her, she can love you. It's not allowed because it's going to make somebody mad that shouldn't have any business having any say in it.
I had another situation, and I just want to talk about this because, like, why not? And people can like freak the fuck out. I don't give a fuck. Like, or they can have like all their little thoughts in their little minds or whatever about it. So, Western Decline, I was probably 33 years old, and I took my dog for a walk one day, and I walked down to the lake, the local water, area near my home. And a couple of 16, 17-year-old girls were trying to provide me with alcohol. And I didn't, and by the way, I look younger than I am. Like, I have all my hair and you know what I mean? Like, people think I'm 27 still. It's kind of funny. I'm like an old fuck, by the way. It's kind of funny. But, I'm in my mid 30s, early 30s. I'm walking my dog, and I've got 17-year-old girls trying to provide me with alcohol and wanting to come over to my house. Am I a bad person if I go along with that? And by the way, I did not. But I'm not gonna say that I rejected them, but they had to they left for I don't want to say why, but they took off, or I guess I will say why. They had a phone call or an email, a notification. They took off, but they wanted to come over. They wanted to supply me with alcohol. I'm in my 30s. They're underage. They've got alcohol. I don't. I'm just out walking my dog, and they want to, come over. I guess. What do you think about that?
Up to maybe 50 years ago in the United States, this would be considered completely normal. All the boomers that turn around and go, "Not my little princess," idolized guys that had lineups of underage girls outside their like makeup trailer. All these musicians, all these boomer musicians were fucking dozens, hundreds, thousands of underage girls at Woodstock and all these other places. It's just nowadays when they have these used up millennial daughters that they're trying to push on anyone, they're going to try and legislate you out of dating these girls. And having experienced not necessarily that same situation, but very similar stuff. Like before I lost my hair when I was in my mid 20s, I really hit my stride. I looked like a pretty boy with a full head of hair. I was in shape, like I was getting the most attention I've ever had in my entire life. And I had to actually like actively avoid girls, okay? Like I walked into a store one time and some mother caught her like obviously underage daughter gawking at me and basically had to like tackle her and turn her the other direction. So we're in a situation where the majority of guys they're still operating under this delusion of you got to slay the dragon, you got to, take down the lion before you earn yourself a woman. And I don't know if it's inexperience or it's having only experience kind of beta bucks position or what it is, but they can't comprehend the idea that women are the ones doing the choosing and they start choosing very early. So they don't
Well,
want to believe it. It's hard for them
I
to
don't
accept.
want to. Like, I know there's a line, and I know about like being inappropriate, and I also like I'm aware of like, hey, like these girls have a father, and like like, but we live in, like you said, Pandora's box, so it's kind of like, am I like an evil doer because 17-year-old girls are trying to give me alcohol and fuck me at my house? Like, it never happened, but and I don't even know that I wanted it to happen. It was just sort of like random, a random day of my life. And man, I'll never forget that day, if that makes sense. Western
No,
McLean.
I know. That's part of why I'm having such trouble getting over the one girl that did give me that kind of attention like first. It's I'll remember it for the rest of my life because even without doing anything, it made me feel like I wasn't a barnacle on the bottom of a fucking aircraft carrier or something. I was relevant with the demographic of what girls that I had always wanted to be relevant with. It just came too late to capitalize on it without sour people getting in the middle of it. And it's just a frustration with the society in general. And I want to say that you did the right thing by
passing up on it. But on the other hand, I doubt those girls learned anything from that. They probably just found the next guy that tickled their fancy. So we live in a situation where, if you don't, somebody else will, right? And I think that this is why the white race is unfortunately struggling so much, because do you think if you had been black, or if you had been a Chad Preet or something like this, or if you'd been a fresh off the boat immigrant or of any kind, do you think that you would have had the ability to pass up on that situation? I think that white guys think themselves out of pussy way too much, and I think that it's a byproduct of a legal system that seeks to only hold us responsible for anything. We're the only ones that the law actually applies to. It doesn't apply to our women. It hardly applies to non-whites. It's enforced very spottily, if at all. So we overanalyze everything to the point of analysis paralysis at best, or in my case, I've often been even cowardly, man. And after my last experience here, where I decided not to be a coward. I was right to be in the situations before, because my life is kind of fucked up now. It was prior, but
I gotta interrupt because
yeah,
people
go
in the
ahead.
chat are talking, and you're making this out about whites getting themselves out of pussy, overthinking it, and you just brought it up. Legal action. It's a real fear for Aryans, the white race, European Americans, white people. That white people are held to a different standard, and I think that's what's being missed, or maybe sort of passed over. You're not seeing that. Like, you mentioned it, but I think that's not in the consciousness. Like the idea, like whites are just like abstract thinkers, and they just think themselves out of pussy. Like, no, they have a real threat looming.
Yeah, yeah, no, you would think that if you look at the animal kingdom, you'd think that you're competing against, another organism that's in your lane for who is the superior source of genetic material. And whites seem to have constructed this catch-22 for themselves, where the same thing that keeps their lives so comfy and safe has now become like the noose that will be used to hang them, to where you're not competing against, an organism in your same lane anymore. You're competing against this giant kind of societal egregore that you now have to appease. Okay, like it's no longer personal. You and the other individual, and maybe a third party you're competing with. The third party is now this overarching machine, that you don't know if you're ever really going to step out of line with, and you can't foresee, you know, with gray areas, what is going to actually happen. So you always have to err on the side of caution, or you're going to end up like me, unable to leave your country for 5 years with a fucking felony for asking a girl to go see Top Gun.
I wanna do the devil's advocate again today. Why the fuck not? Uh Men wasting chicks' time, not committing to them. Do you have anything to say to that? Is that not real? That
I think,
women have a timeline, and women are kind of getting fucked over too. I'm gonna share a RFM tweet and have you read it and respond. But before I do that, go ahead and react to what I just said.
I think there's true aspects of it, but women are often their own worst enemy. There's a reason that fathers and male family members used to be involved in the selection of a partner for their women, and it's because men are a lot better at evaluating the level of interest a man has. Okay, we can tell what sort of intentions the guy has for the woman a lot better than the woman can. I think that the woman is intentionally ignorant in a lot of cases. She wants to believe that she can lock that guy down, and instead she ends up wasting, 5, 10, 15 of her most important years on somebody that was just using her as a plate to spin.
Why don't you read the tweet, Western Decline, and respond, please?
Yeah, there are many beautiful women in the world, and the vast majority of them never even attempt to trade in their beauty for millions of dollars for fame or for status. Most of them have normal jobs, marry normal men, and become normal moms. Men fixate on gold diggers despite this obvious fact because they long for a transactional woman. They long for prostitution. A woman who loves you and wants love is too much to deal with. They lack the emotional capacity to contend with all that will entail. It's always easier to pay to play. Uh,
I mean, is she totally fucking lost?
the thing with her is she's basically lying by omission because the silent part here that if you can read between the lines is that they're longing for a guy that they can love on a biological level instead of having to pretend to love for financials. And men that lack the biology want to be able to win with financials. So she's right, but she's lying by omission because if she included the missing information, it wouldn't come across as this kind of fairy Disney tale type post where she's just out there looking for love. Okay, but what does love physically look like to her? Okay, they don't care about money, but what do they care about? Like, what sort of stats can she fall in love with? And I think that we'd receive a very different picture if we had that information.
There's this whole low investment is the winner. Maybe guys can't handle that. You care to explain?
Well, I think that I mean this was kind of where I differed with your previous guest. Low investment is the winning strategy in the short term, but if everybody takes the low investment Machiavellian approach, uh, it won't be a world people want to bring young ones into for very long. So I would err against doing any of that kind of thing, but I can't say it's a bad strategy because it's what's working right now. So I think it's for every man to make the decision themselves which way he wants to play the game. You know, you might end up playing the game
Is
of
it
life
really?
on a
Is
harder
it? Wait a
difficulty.
minute. Is it really manly, quote, manly to kind of, quote, be above it all? Explain that, Western Decline. Come on, man.
I mean, traditional masculinity, yeah. Chivalry and everything was intended for fellow combatants, and you were supposed to be in control of your faculties to the point that you could treat even your enemy with a level of decency.
So
And
are the average men even men then? Because that's not in your authority, not in your power. Does that make sense?
uh, what do you think? Like, are you saying that they don't have the
That most
luxury of
people are
behaving
basic.
decently?
Most people are like debt slaves. They're not really free individuals. They really don't have even agency. I would even almost argue, and that
Hmm.
I mean to hold. It's like pinning people down. Like we're all kind of products of this bullshit, and you really can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I think that that's a fair take. You are definitely swimming upstream to avoid acting in predatory behaviors nowadays because it seems, at least in this economy, like scamming or borderline scamming is about the only way to get ahead. So I can't criticize people for doing it necessarily, but I can hate the game that makes them do it.
Who cheats more? The red pill is always kind of talked about. Oh, they, in the trad cons, and even normies. Fuck, it's just everything's equal. Women and men cheat the same. Do you have an opinion about that?
Uh, I think an extreme minority of men cheat more than women, but the majority of women cheat far more than the majority of men.
Yeah, that's basically right. What do you think of maybe Better Bachelor on Twitter? Has he had maybe a little bit of a turn? A kind of he's been a little more I don't know, saying maybe more than he usually does. Is that fair? Have you been following him?
I do follow him. I unfortunately, the dashboard tainted me on him. I can't think of him without hearing his moniker, Bitter Bachelor. Um, But I do agree with some of the things he says. I like that he is you can tell that kind of like how Undead Chronic pretends to be a Chad. Joker or Bitter Bachelor, he pretends not to be an incel. Okay? So like he makes he will occasionally make points like this, and that's why I follow him. I'll signal boost to small points like this because he has a wider audience, and they I think that this is largely like, even if society wasn't structured in such a way as to reward the worst behavior from men, women reward the worst behavior in men. So as long as you live in a society that's been spiritually and morally feminized, you're going to really struggle to clamp down on this type of behavior from men, because it becomes the needle by which all reproductive acts must pass through the head of to succeed. There's that Bible verse about how it's easier for a rich man to enter heaven, or it's easier for a camel or something to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter heaven. I think it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a decent, nice guy to get a loyal wife in 2024.
Western Decline, people like to call people incels, even like wignats or tradcons or patriotards or conservatards or whoever the fuck we're talking about. Oh, you're an incel, and incels are this, and incels are that. Calling us all incels, is that not kind of maybe scraping the bottom of the barrel, appealing to the average retard?
I mean, incel is just the new calling somebody a loser or a virgin. Like, this is what always gets me too with the societal messaging, because on the one hand, when they're extending the poisoned olive branch to you, they want to tell you that nobody thinks you're a loser because you don't have a partner. There's more to life than getting sex and getting laid and having a mate. And then the second you're on the other side of their personality, it's the first jugular that they seek to attack. And women women make sex their entire life. Their number one political issue is abortion. They want the ability to do everything that they can to have as much sex as possible with as little consequence as possible, but it's somehow not supposed to matter for men. So
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, a shout out to Millennial Black Pill. That guy's a fucking awesome Twitter guy. I mean, he's just killing it on Twitter.
no, I'm a big fan.
He's saying that most women are the pedophiles. Most women are disgusting pervs. That men aren't the dirty being. That women are the dirty dogs.
I agree. Largely, I believe that is the case, and I think that that is the only silver lining of what we're seeing now with the people becoming very big sticklers on age gaps, is you will occasionally see those turbo lefties at least also criticize women that are dating younger men. And although I would have I would have loved the opportunity to fuck some of my older teachers. Like, that would have made my day when I was in high school. I like seeing my enemies attack one another. And people will cancel Dr. Disrespect for talking to somebody that may have even been legal in his state. But I seen a post on Twitter today that talked about how Taylor Swift had 3 boyfriends that were below the age of 18 when she was 23. And nobody seems to be wanting to cancel her for that. Um, and I think the other thing with women is that women are the ones that enable, facilitate, and train people to be the sex workers when they're underage. The majority of well, at least in the case of my mother and sister, the mother is the one that's basically pimping her underage daughter out. Okay, and I think that these women pass it on to their daughters, and that's the benign stuff. Honestly, I think that they do it with their sons too. I think it's very common for a woman to get with a sus guy. just so she can have a man around and facilitate him having access to her kids. I think this is why the big statistic of a child's most likely to be abused by their step parent, because the mothers are letting it happen. I had a situation with work where the single mom coworker was, in my opinion, trying to arrange some sort of shit like that. So women, I think, use male pedophiles or whatever as a fall guy. I think that they keep them around so that they can throw them under the bus if anybody ever comes sniffing around or something for one of these sort of problems. There's a very good series of 4chan posts that discuss female pedophiles. I'll try to have them ready for the next time we talk, but it goes
Yeah.
very far into depth about it.
I figured you had a tweet. I want to fucking pull this video up just because, like, I don't know, we're not done yet. I guess we'll keep going for a little longer. This is Sneeko. I know you know this video. We're gonna react to this live.
My only Sneeko retweet in the last 2 years. It could only be one thing.
Dr. Disgusting, says Valkyrie. Yuck, says Pokimane. Everyone hates you, but as soon as that second hits midnight, then she can sign up on OnlyFans, sell her body, and then everyone's going to parade around and say, you go, queen. You're an independent girl boss. Slay. Clown world. I don't know everything about Dr. Disrespect, but what is the, like, let's break it down. Pokimane pretty much does softcore porn for 14-year-old boys. Her audience is 95% men who are jerking off the entire stream. Oh, Pokey, I want to poke you, Pokey. Twitch. I might get banned on Twitch by saying this, but it is what it is, bro. They run Twitch because they are turning people into simps. And simping is them. Here's another 3,000 gifted. Ding, ding. Jerking off all day. Most of them are teenagers. Most of them are underage. It doesn't even matter to them because Twitch is 13 plus. So they're okay if you're 13 years old edging to Pokemon all day. But if Dr. Disrespect texts a girl who's 17 years old, 11 months, 364 days, 59 minutes and 59 seconds, he's the worst person ever. Why? Someone tell me how that makes any sense. And as soon as that second goes away, she's a prostitute. Everybody cheers.
Why don't you go ahead and respond to that, Western Decline?
Yeah, I think that's the most correct that Sneeko has ever been, at least that I've seen him. We have a real problem in this society where we don't, on the one hand, we insist on equality for everything, but then on the other hand, we don't, we have obvious double standards like this, and it's interesting how the double standards always seem to benefit women or non-whites or other specific groups. The double standard never seems to benefit white men, and you got to kind of wonder why that is the case. And who comes out and is the biggest detractor for this sort of stuff? Like, if I was Pokimane, I don't understand. Like, I'd be burying my head in the sand right now and hoping this whole situation blows over and that nobody nobody calls me out for this sort of thing. And instead, she jumps in the firing line to, like, draw attention to herself off of the drama. I think these women have they're incentivized to pretend that they're actually entertainers when in reality, like, they basically are pornography. Because I remember when I was a kid, I didn't want to jerk off. Like, when I was 14, 15, I found porn women disgusting. Some 30, 40-year-old bitch covered in tattoos, fucking bogged, gagging and sucking on shit, just fucking nasty. Okay, I didn't want to seek that out. And I remember I'd rather jerk off to pictures of girls I went to school with on, like, Facebook at the time. Okay, like, that was preferable. And I think for a lot of these guys, like, the girls on Twitch or whatever, they're just as disgusting as, Brazzers girls, okay? But they clean up a lot better. They don't seem that way necessarily on the surface. And I think that it's basically almost a girlfriend experience that they offer to a lot of their viewers. A lot of these guys do not get any interaction from women. So some mid or upper high tier normie, a white girl that doesn't have a Baphomet tattooed on her neck is may even be the best they can do. And rather than admit that predicament, I think that this self-defeating double standard is allowed to perpetuate because it quells men. Um, Having women able to dole out this copium to large masses of men is why it's permitted. Okay, they don't want you to ever get the idea that you could one day be a Dr. Disrespect and, getting the girl you never got in high school. They want you to instead have the idea that, if you want that, you gotta have the state or a corporation as the middleman, getting their cut, and you can look but don't touch. Don't even think about touching, or straight to jail.
Man, you're the best. You're a good streamer, man. You really just have all the right takes. It's great. Western Decline. We just watched that video of that like Chad Lake guy complaining about the world. You saw it, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, right? And I want to ask you like about this sort of conservative versus liberal in politics. And that maybe perhaps men are playing maybe a different game, and that's what that guy doesn't understand.
What do you mean? He doesn't understand that.
It's beyond politics.
Yeah, I don't think that he does get that. I think and this is a problem with the right wing in general. The left has all of its own issues, but the right wing is. People used to criticize left-leaning guys for like, oh, the only reason he's at a pride parade or at the women's march is because he's trying to get laid. And that's most men in right-wing politics too. Okay, they don't actually adhere to any of the precepts of any of it. They're ideologically broke. They're basically like sex pests that are scrounging around the right wing community trying to find a woman that still has a wrapper, okay, for them to make away with. And you see that in two things that make it really obvious. One, the elevation of female grifters in the right wing community. They're immediately pushed to the forefront. The men just cannot help themselves. And the second one, how easily these guys are swayed. Okay, one thing MGTOWs get right is how a lot of guys are one blowjob away from the plantation, and you see that with guys like Think Before You Sleep. Even if it's a disgusting mid quadroon that starts giving them a little attention, these guys just can't resist turning around and attacking their former audiences. So they don't really believe anything they're talking about. In most cases, they're here purely because they find the idea of a trad girl more attractive than they do a left-wing girl, so they're going to ingratiate with a community where they think they're more likely to find one.
Western Decline. I'm just curious. Like this is a kind of a loaded question. But do you think perhaps freedom is getting in the way of relationships in the modern kind of post kind of contemporary America?
I don't believe in freedom for most people. I think that a world where most people have freedom is a world that I wouldn't want to live in. And I think that in order to have freedom, you should have to basically have a license to be free. Okay, like you have to show that you are not, like, your freedom is not going to be an infringement on the quality of life of other people. So it might have been millennial black pill, and this isn't a criticism of blacks necessarily, but this is just something that he said that really resonated with me. He said that black people should be put in jail at birth and let out when they've proven they could behave. And I think that on a smaller level should apply to a lot of people. Okay, most women, most men of all races. Okay, you can't handle freedom. This whole liberty nonsense was intended for a very different demographic of men when it was implemented in these countries, and it's not something that majority of people can handle. The majority of people use their freedom to be fat, degenerate retards. That's what they do with it when they're given the ability to do whatever they want. So what good is it for those people? Like a very regimented system would actually be healthier for them because they're unable to act in their own best interest.
Is I heard I think Millennial Black Pill was talking about, that playing hard to get is prostitution. Um is there a distinction between prostitution and girlfriend in this country anymore?
Yeah, I think if you have to pay for it, it's all prostitution, whether she calls you her boyfriend or her husband. I think that is actually the defining factor. If you have to pay with money, it's not a real relationship. It's just pseudo prostitution. And I would say that playing hard to get, though, is acceptable in a situation where the woman is actually hard to get. Okay, if she has not have a body count, okay, she hasn't been like sucking dicks, if she's actually chaste, then I would say that she has the right to play hard to get, you know. If she's already given herself away, then like just move on the second she starts acting like that because she clearly doesn't respect you.
Yeah. So we always hear about like you're a loser, this men being kind of taken down a peg, criticized, anything they do. Incels are losers, the wignats are losers. But I want to maybe ask you about kind of tying that to maybe MGTOW. And I don't want to sound like a retard here, but you can call a wignat or a white nationalist like a Nick Fuentes. You can call him a loser. But is my brother-in-law better off? Or even my own brother who's has a child? I mean, do you really want to trade lives with people that that have kids? And I'm not trying to downplay TFL or the inability to get sex or an affection from the opposite sex. But I'm not trying to diminish. I just don't see it as like a better situation being my brother or my brother-in-law who maybe have a girlfriend or a wife and have children. Like, I'm not sure I'd rather have their life. Do you have anything to say to that, Western McClung?
There's very few people that I'd want to switch lives with. From my graduating class, I can actually only think of one of them. And ironically, he was actually raised by a single mother. But I think what set him differently from the rest of us is his single mother was like a Stacy. Okay, like when people would like go over to his house, I never did this to him because I thought it was really rude, but like I'd be hanging out at his house with like other guys in like 8th grade or whatever, and guys would like say, dude, your mom's so hot, to him. Okay, like it was very whatever, right? But she set him on the right track. If you've ever seen these women that try and raise their sons as like what they find attractive in a guy, she actually set him up very well. And this amounted to him, she let him not focus on academics. Like she didn't care about him uh, at, with academics at all. Like she didn't give a single shit. I remember this kid, she put him on like a dirt bike when he was like fucking 12. Okay, so he's like, other people are like fucking riding their like bicycles to school or getting like rides from their parents, and this kid is showing up at lunch break on his dirt bike because he walked home from school to go grab it and then rode it back. Okay, like he easily mogged everybody else. And this kid now has a son that's like a little clone of him, and he's had like a long history of just pretty attractive girlfriends, like that would make the average guy envious. And he was not he was not super tall. Okay, he's like not 6 feet, maybe like 5'10" or something, But the fact that he was actually allowed to be a man and encouraged to be a man by his mother instead of being smothered and stifled by him, uh, he flourished. And that is the only guy that I'd really want to trade positions with, because he truly does have an enviable life. Here we are 10, 15 years later, and we have boomers telling us to get into the trades and all this other nonsense. His mother set him on such a good course early in life. Like, she set him up with like welding when he was like 12, before you had all these people piling into it. And like his first year out of high school, he already had a job lined up to go work on the oil rigs. He must have made 150 200 grand after a year there. Meanwhile, my parents give me like this bullshit advice. Okay, they don't tell me anything. They give me no help. In fact, they give me sabotage. So one good parent is better than two shitty ones, I think, even regardless the gender. Um, I got to give credit to his mother for actually knowing what was up, because mine most definitely didn't. I think I'm more envious. I wish that I had a mother that actually knew what the fuck she was doing.
Yeah. Good stuff, Western Decline. Really, I've had a good time tonight. I think we should wrap up here. And I hate to tell the chat that we're going to close out now. We've been going about 2 hours, and we'll do another one. I don't like to do too long of streams. I don't know. It kind of wears me down. So I think we're going to wrap it up. Western Decline, you hit a home run tonight. I got a few names I'm going to list off. I'll have you respond to, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, bud?
Sure.
All right. The first name I'm going to ask is Catboy Cammy.
People would mock him. I think he's kind of a funny troll, and I can't look at a guy like that and automatically assume that they're gay anymore in 2024. When the path to women becomes feminizing yourself, who am I to judge for somebody acting like that? He probably pulls more girls wearing fucking cat ears than most gym cells do, benching 10 plates.
Now, wait a minute, well, Western Decline. That's my point. Like, that's kind of why I like you. Like, you see the truth that the straw nigger I shouldn't say that word. The straw black dildo, or whatever the hell we're calling it, is gonna get you laid more than like being like a fucking gym cell. Like, you're not fucking wrong, bud. Like,
This has been true for a long time, man.
being
When
kind
I was
of a
in high
fucking
school,
being like a jokester and just like a fuck around kid and low and hib is gonna fucking win, buddy boy.
prior to my glow up in my 20s, the only other time I'd been very successful with girls was when like emo shit was in, and being like a depressing sack of shit actually worked for me. All I had to do was wear skinny jeans and straighten my hair. So I understand like the feminizing to get women. I remember getting bullied in high school for wearing skinny jeans. People would call me gay, but like women didn't seem to think it was gay. So it's the same old games, just different techniques.
Yeah, you brought it up. Fuck. God damn it, Western Decline. Because this is like Catboy Cammy's kind of like he's got good genes, right? He's a handsome man. I don't want to sound like a fag. He's he's in shape. He's white. He's not ugly or whatever. It's like, but does energy matter? The kind of the aura that you give off in life, and that, or is that just chalk it up to low and hib and being silly?
I think it does. I think women just want to have fun, and they want a guy that they can have fun with, which doesn't always mean being like a jester maxer, because women like true crime, women like dangerous situations. So their idea of fun is more of a thrill seeking type of fun. So personality, I think being a stick in the mud when it comes to women is probably the worst thing you can be, and it's definitely held me back.
Do you have any thoughts about Julian Assange?
I'm suspicious of whether he's even a real person. I'm I'm kind of inclined to believe that he might not necessarily be. I read somebody's post where they were pointing out he was in the news cycle the last couple weeks, and they were saying that, like, either they have very different prisons from the one I was in, or this guy was never in jail because he looks like he's been eating very well. He doesn't look like Terry Davis in his later years going insane from being in isolation. So
We got Mog Maxer in the chat, and he's asking you about, maybe boomers going extinct and that we'd be better off. That's sort of the weird dilemma, the kind of, what's the word, precarious kind of situation. Native whites, white men or men in general in America, maybe they benefit having boomers kind of hanging on, or do you say that, no, disregard that? Boomers all being kind of gone away with is actually going to be better for the youngster. I kind of see kind of like that kind of there's kind of like two sides of that coin. Did you want to talk about that quick?
I think that as much as we hate boomers for putting us in this predicament, if they were to all disappear tomorrow, things would be immediately worse for us, because as much as boomers are terrible, some of them are still white. So on some level, they do act to protect their own group. If all boomers were removed from the earth tomorrow, their positions wouldn't be filled with abased young white guys. It would be filled with like the commiest brown women and Jews that you could find. So if the boomers actually want to help us, the boomers need to seek out the best of the goys and give us like some sort of position of authority or influence with the torch being handed off. If they all died tomorrow, and it would be worse than, in my opinion, if they slowly like handed it off. But boomers don't do that anyway. The boomers will probably hand it off to the non-white commies while they're alive and make us watch just to spite us and then tell us we're lazy.
Do you have any thoughts about Edward Snowden?
I think it's funny. I like the snitching on America and fleeing to Russia. I don't know if I'd do it myself. I'm not really in a position to do it, but I like that. I like it calling into question the omnipotence and the never-ending reach of the American military. Because the more the closer they get to seeming all powerful, the more they're going to act all powerful, and them acting all powerful is not good for anybody. That's how we got into this situation in Ukraine, where they think that, just throw more men at it, throw more money at it. We'll win eventually, and maybe they will, but the cost will be great.
Any thoughts on Kirk Doolittle?
I responded to one of his posts today. He was bashing Gen Y and Gen Z for not for not having like fixed the country, and for like being lazy. And I responded to him, and I just told him, like, you've had a 20-year head start on all of us, and you've done even less with a bigger foothold. So I think he's right about some things, but I think he's another one of these guys that postures as overly intellectual and thinks that if he just keeps writing notes and
I
Substacks
fucking
and
laugh at
books-
people like Kirk Doolittle. I'd just punch him in the face. He'd be out like a light. The dude's a fucking genetic. I mean, he's a little boy. He's a little guy. He'd just get his ass kicked. I mean, like, why do I care what you? I mean, he's all right, but like, dude, you're just a doofus. You're just a little fucking fat kid. Fuck, I'll knock you out, bro.
Yeah, and even from a perspective of not being like genetically fit, right? Like, he's not the sort of guy that would overcome with violence either. Like, the solutions he's offering to other people are things that he'd never enact himself. Like, he's criticizing Gen Z and Gen Y for basically not seizing the government by force, when that guy can't even, like, I doubt he can even see his own dick. I don't. I don't.
Oh, people have been asking in the last couple of streams. Keith Wood's name keeps popping up. I don't know if I asked you about Keith Woods. Do you want to talk about Keith Woods? I'm not impressed. I mean, I mean, it's sort of that jockeying for position, using Richard Spencer, and now he's got a following, and he's not even that interesting. He's a bore, and I could beat him up. So who gives a fuck what that kid thinks?
So on the Incel Discord, there's a black guy with a lisp who is cool, by the way. I like Jam's Fire, but people think that he's from America, but they think because of his lisp that he's British. And because of this, they view him as some kind of like aristocratic black that has like much higher IQ than maybe he does. And I think it's kind of the same thing with Keith Woods, where if he had an American accent, he'd be like a nothing burger. But the fact that it's like a young guy kind of parroting Fuentes talking points with a British accent or whatever, he comes across as more intelligent than he is. I was listening to Fuentes complain about Nick Woods on his stream the other day because he was saying basically like, I was the one that gave you relevance, Keith, and you want to charge me for your reading list? Okay, you can't just give me the reading list. You won't just let me know what you're reading. You want me to pay the $5 for the books? Come on, bro. And yeah,
Got one more name for you. I don't know if I asked you about him. Michael Collins Piper. You have an opinion about Michael Collins Piper? He died in a farm, or when did he die? He died in a hotel like 4 years ago, I think. 6 years ago.
I am not familiar. You'd have to. I mean, I'm looking at some of his books here. I think that me and this guy would probably get along. I look him up, and the first thing that comes is a book titled "The Golem: Israel's Nuclear Hell Bomb and the Road to Global Armageddon." Yeah, okay. The Golem, a world
I
held
think
hostage.
that I think he was friends with the hell's that fucking prairie nigger? What the hell's his name? The one from Japan, the one living out in Japan. I forget his fucking name now. Ryan Dawson. I think Ryan Dawson used to collaborate with him back in the old days.
Yeah, I'm gonna at a cursory glance, I'm gonna put the stamp of approval on Michael Collins Piper.
Yeah, I used to listen to him. And who is that? Willis Carto. You familiar with Willis Carto?
I'm not.
Okay, well, we'll move on. Well, we're not going to talk about Colin Liddell.
Unfortunately, I'm kind of a zoomer, so a lot of
Colin Liddell is a boring motherfucker, man. Anybody wasting their time with that guy, he's boring. He ain't nothing to listen to. He's boring. There's nothing to take away from that. You'd be better off listening to anybody, some micro streamer on YouTube. Fuck that guy. Yeah, Colin Liddell's a shithead. Fuck that guy. And we're done. I think we're done, Western Decline. Do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, Tradster pouring fuel on the fire here.
Opinions on Patrick.
I don't personally dislike the guy. Okay, I was open to reconciliation. I still am. If Thomas is, that's between him and Patrick too. So.
Yeah, Pat's a good streamer, and maybe we'll do a stream in the future, but it's gonna be a little while. I think he owes me an apology. Fuck it. I'm fucking pissed. I've had fucking people on. I try to be a good guy, nice guy, and all I get is, "Oh, you're disloyal. You're not a friend to me." Like, I don't even know who the fuck you are, dude. Like, I've been talking to you for 6 years. I don't know who the fuck you are, dude. Probably a Fed. I don't even care. I just like talking to people that are interesting, and Pat's pretty interesting, and I'm sure he'll keep his YouTube streams going. He's a good streamer. Maybe we'll talk again, and down the road. And no hate on Pat. Pat's all right, I guess, sort of, kind of. We'll, it is what it is.
I personally assume everybody's a Fed, and I see incels as Feds are their paid friends. So just don't let them talk you into doing a terror. And
I don't even care.
The Feds will be your buddies, boyos.
I don't even give a fuck if people are Feds. If Collective Dismal's a Fed, or if First from Incelmatics is a Fed, I don't give a fuck. I'll talk to Feds. I'll talk to anybody. We'll have a little chat. And guess what? Nothing's gonna happen. Here talking about stuff. I'm gonna express myself. I'm gonna have people on, and I'm gonna facilitate a conversation. That's just what's gonna happen, and I don't give a fuck. And nothing's gonna happen. I mean, I'm here. So we're done. This is the end. We're gonna do another stream maybe next week. Okay, Western Decline. How's that sound?
I gotta I gotta make sure to watch Dead Presidents before Saturday.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that Dead Presidents review. The film reviews will continue. I want to talk about my favorite movie, one of my all-time favorite movies, and we're gonna do that on Saturday. Saturday we are going to talk about Dead Presidents. I think it's 1995, the Hugh Brothers film, one of my all-time favorite movies, and I've already talked about it. I was a little drunk last time I discussed the film, but you can find it in my history on my YouTube channel. And yeah, I'm gonna revisit Dead Presidents, not because I don't have any other films to talk about. I just really like the movie, and I want to talk about it again because I think I whiffed the last on the last review. So we're gonna have Western Decline on Saturday. We're gonna discuss Dead Presidents. And with that said, I think I'm about done. Final thought, statement, opinion,
Some
plug.
sometimes feds are based. Look at Myron Gaines. You know, it's kind of low hanging fruit, but he's more or less in the same camp as us. And the FBI reposted the protocols, of the Elders of Zion. So the FBI goys know maybe.
Yeah, sure. I don't even care. Whatever. It is what it is. Good stream, Western Decline. You really fucking good. You're doing a man. You're the shit, man. You did really well today, and I can't wait to do the next Black Pill stream. And yeah, everybody in the chat, we love the Spurg chat, and thank you for all your comments. And with that said, have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for watching, guys.